Imagine this: the most powerful man in the world, surrounded by wealth, armies, and influence. Yet every night, Marcus Aurelius sat down with a simple wax tablet and wrote to himself. Why? Because even an emperor wasn't free from anxiety. He worried about betrayal, disease, the weight of leadership, and the unpredictability of life. Power did not protect him from restless thoughts. And yet, Marcus found a way to quiet his mind, not by escaping problems, but by practicing habits that reshaped how he faced them. He discovered that peace is not about controlling the world, but about learning to master the self. That's why, nearly 2,000 years later, people still turn to his words. Because his habits are not locked in dusty history. They're daily practices you and I can use right now to calm the storms within. In this video, I'll walk you through 7 daily habits of Marcus Aurelius that helped him stop anxiety before it could control him. By the end, you'll have simple steps you can begin tonight, no matter where you are in life. Stay with me, because your calmest self might be waiting just on the other side of Habit South 1. Habit 1. Morning reflection. The first battle of the day is not with emails, traffic, or conversations. It begins in your mind. Marcus Aurelius knew this well. Each morning before stepping into the noise of politics and war, he paused to remind himself of what kind of day awaited him. He wrote, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, 'Today I shall meet with interference, ingratitude, arrogance, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness.'" Why would he start the day with such a heavy thought? Because preparing for reality makes it easier to accept. When you expect life to be messy, you're not shocked when it is. You're ready. Science today calls this cognitive priming. Framing your mind before the stress arrives reduces anxiety when challenges actually appear. Picture Marcus standing before the Senate, already grounded because he rehearsed in his mind. "People may resist me, but I will remain calm." Instead of being caught off guard, he faced the day with quiet strength. You can practice the same habit tomorrow. Before you grab your phone, take a minute to reflect. What challenges might come today, and who do I want to be when they arrive? That simple morning ritual builds a shield for your inner peace. Now let's move to habit number 2, Marcus's most personal weapon against restless thoughts: journaling. Habit 2, journaling for clarity. If mornings were for preparation, nights were for release. Marcus Aurelius had no therapist, no podcast, no mentor he could confide in. Instead, he turned to the page. What we now know as meditations was never meant to be published. It was his private journal, a safe place to pour out restless thoughts and reshape them into wisdom. Modern psychology confirms what Marcus instinctively practiced. Journaling externalizes anxiety. When emotions stay inside, they swirl endlessly. When written down, they lose their power. Neuroscience shows that labeling emotions in writing actually reduces activity in the brain's fear centers. Picture Marcus, after a day of commanding armies and navigating betrayal, sitting quietly by candlelight. He takes up his wax tablet and writes, not to impress, but to understand. You have power over your mind, not outside events. The act of writing helped him breathe easier, even in chaos. You don't need to write like a philosopher. Begin simply. Tonight, write one anxious thought in a notebook. Name it. Let the page hold it so you don't have to. Over time, your journal becomes less of a diary and more of a medicine cabinet for the mind. Next, let us explore a habit that seems strange at first, but is one of the fastest ways Marcus dissolved fear: voluntary discomfort. Habit 3. Practicing voluntary discomfort. At first it sounds odd. Why would anyone choose discomfort? But Marcus Aurelius, like many Stoics, believed that by training the body and mind to endure small hardships, bigger fears would lose their grip. He knew that anxiety thrives when we believe we cannot handle pain. The cure? Prove to yourself that you can. Marcus spent years on military campaigns, far from Rome's luxuries. He ate simple bread, endured cold nights, and shared the same rough conditions as his soldiers. These were not punishments. They were lessons. By practicing voluntary discomfort, he reminded himself, I can face what life throws at me. Modern science agrees. Psychologists call this exposure therapy. Gradually facing discomfort rewires the brain, reducing fear responses over time. Even simple acts like fasting, walking instead of driving, or taking a cold shower remind us that comfort is not a necessity. It's a privilege. Imagine Marcus, wrapped in a thin cloak during a bitter night, calm because he knew. If he could endure this by choice, he could endure whatever came by chance. You can try this too. Tomorrow, choose one small discomfort. Skip sugar, turn the water cold, or leave your phone behind for an hour. Notice how anxiety shrinks when fear of discomfort fades. Habit 4. Living by principles, not moods. Anxiety often grows when we let our moods steer the ship. One day we feel motivated, the next day we collapse under worry. Marcus Aurelius refused to let feelings dictate his choices. He leaned on principles instead. His guiding values were justice, courage, temperance, and wisdom. Whenever emotions pulled him in different directions, these virtues acted like a compass, keeping him steady. Think of Marcus facing heated debates in the Roman Senate. Insults and anger flew around the chamber, yet he reminded himself, "It is not the words of others that harm me, but my own reaction." By holding to justice and calm, he made decisions rooted in principle, not irritation. His anxiety lessened because he wasn't tossed about by every emotional storm. Today, psychologists echo this idea. People who define their core values show greater resilience under stress. Why? Because they know what matters most, and that clarity silences much of the noise. You can try it too. Write down one principle you want to live by today. Maybe kindness, maybe patience. When stress hits, anchor yourself to it. This shift turns anxiety into alignment. Next, we'll explore habit number 5, a perspective shift that can make even the heaviest worries seem small. Habit 5. Practicing perspective shifts. When worries feel overwhelming, Marcus Aurelius had a simple practice: step back, zoom out, and see the bigger picture. He often reminded himself that human life is just a blink in the vast timeline of the universe. What troubles us today may feel enormous now, but in the grand scheme, they are no more lasting than footprints in sand. Imagine Marcus walking through the palace gardens at night, looking up at the stars. He would reflect, how tiny is my body, how short my time, how fleeting my worries. This cosmic perspective didn't make problems disappear, but it shrank them, making them easier to carry. Modern psychology calls this cognitive reappraisal, reframing problems from a larger perspective. Studies show it lowers stress and increases emotional resilience. The mind relaxes when it realizes, this is not the end of the world. Try it tonight. Step outside, look at the sky, and tell yourself, my worries are small compared to the vastness of life. That mental shift can turn panic into peace. Marcus used this habit not to escape responsibility, but to free himself from fear. With perspective, he could act with calm wisdom. Next, we'll look at habit number 6, how serving others can ease the weight of your own anxiety. Habit 6, acts of service. One of Marcus Aurelius's most powerful antidotes to anxiety was surprisingly simple: serving others. When life felt heavy, he shifted his focus outward. Anxiety often grows when we are trapped inside our own heads, replaying worries on a loop. But when we help someone else, even in small ways, we break that cycle. Marcus understood this deeply. During the Antonine Plague, he did not retreat to the safety of the palace. Instead, he visited the sick, cared for soldiers, and shared resources with citizens. By choosing service over self-preservation, he reminded himself that leadership was not about power, it was about responsibility. In serving, he found a sense of purpose that outshone fear. Modern studies confirm what Marcus knew. Research shows that acts of kindness trigger the release of oxytocin, the calm and connection hormone. Helping others literally soothes the anxious brain. You don't need to lead an empire to apply this. Try one act of service today. Listen fully to a friend, help a colleague, or even smile at a stranger. Notice how your mind feels lighter when it carries someone else's burden alongside your own. Marcus found peace not by turning inward endlessly, but by reaching outward. Now let us turn to habit 7, the final practice that helped Marcus release anxiety at the end of each day. Evening detachment. Habit 7, evening detachment. If mornings were for preparation and days for service, evenings were for release. Marcus Aurelius ended each day by letting go. He knew that anxiety thrives on unfinished thoughts, rehashing mistakes, replaying conversations, clinging to what cannot be changed. To rest, he practiced detachment. Each night, Marcus would write reflections in his journal, not to carry the day with him, but to set it down. He reminded himself, do not disturb yourself by thinking of the whole of your life. Each day is enough to live. By closing the day with acceptance, he gave his mind permission to rest. Think of him, after long hours of war councils and political disputes, extinguishing his lamp and whispering to himself, if I wake tomorrow, I wake. If I do not, I have lived. That surrender was not despair. It was peace. Today, sleep experts echo this wisdom, creating a ritual of release, whether journaling, meditation, or gratitude practice, signals to the brain that the day is complete. Anxiety eases when the mind knows it doesn't have to keep fighting. Try this tonight. Before bed, name one thing you cannot control and consciously let it go. Rest belongs to those who release. Now, let us bring everything together in the final part, the emotional payoff and your next step forward. When we look at Marcus Aurelius, it's easy to see the emperor, the philosopher, the man history remembers as the last of the good rulers. But what's more important is to see the human being, someone who faced fear, sleepless nights, and the crushing weight of responsibility, yet chose not to be ruled by anxiety. His 7 daily habits were not tricks to escape life's challenges. They were tools to live more fully within them, preparing his mind each morning, releasing thoughts through journaling, training himself with small discomforts, staying anchored to principles, shifting perspective, serving others, and letting go each evening. Together, they formed a rhythm of resilience. And here's the truth. You don't need an empire to practice these habits. You don't need perfect discipline or endless wisdom. You just need to start with one, maybe journaling tonight or a short reflection tomorrow morning. Over time, these small practices weave together into something powerful, a calmer, clearer, more grounded version of yourself. Remember, anxiety may always knock on your door, but you decide whether it gets to live inside your home. Marcus Aurelius showed us that peace isn't the absence of problems. It's the presence of steady habits that keep us anchored when storms arrive. If this video helped you breathe a little easier, stay with us. In the next video, we'll explore how Stoic philosophy shaped Marcus's leadership, not just to manage his inner world, but to guide an empire with compassion and strength. Because calmness is not just for survival, it's for living well.